Hi everyone. In the previous video, we created data frames from list and dictionaries. Today, we will go one step further and create structured record using PySpark's row object, including nested fields. So first of all, as we are doing this from our past 4 videos, first we should start a standard session from the PySpark. So PySpark.sql. So from PySpark.sql, import Spark session. Then we will write Spark equals to Spark session dot builder dot app name. Let's provide the app name. So this will be, let's write day 5 row objects. Okay. Then dot get or create. Okay. We'll run this. So it will start the Spark standard session for our this video. Now, meanwhile, when it is starting, I'll explain what is a row. So row represents one record in a table. So let's say we have a table in which we have 10 lines. So one line will be represented as one row and similar to a name tuple, and it can access by index or a name, and it helps us to create a structured data. Okay. So let's write a code for basic row usage. Okay. So we'll write from PySpark.sql. From PySpark.sql, we will import row. Okay. Now let's provide rows. So I'll provide row 1 and we'll use row. And here inside that, I have to provide the data. So first ID, then second name. So and name, I'll use Ankit as the first name. And third is department. So I'll keep department as sales. So this is, sorry. So this is my first row. Let's create the second row. Again, we'll use row. So second row, I'll create as Puja, Puja, comma, the department will be HR, the toxic department. Okay. Now let's create a data frame using these two rows. So I'll use spark dot create data frame. Okay. And inside that, I have to provide the data. So row 1, comma, so row 1, comma, row 2. Then this is my data. Now we have to provide the column names. So first column is ID, then the second column is name, and the third column is department. Okay. So this is done. Let's do display df or so df.so. I'll use this time display df. So as you can see in our table output, the values were assigned by the position and we have to pass the column name separately. Now let's go to the second part, which is the named field in rows. Okay. Named field. Named field. Okay. So let's create a record for employees. So I'll write row, I'll use row. And in that ID equals to 101, comma, name equals to Ramesh. And I forgot the N here. Name equals to Ramesh and comma, salary equals to 95,000. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 95,000. Okay, this is our employee 1. Let's write employee 2. Again, we'll use row. ID equals to 102. Okay, comma. Name equals to Suresh, and the third one is salary, which will be 25,000. Okay, it is done. Now let's create it as a second data frame. So df2 equals to spark dot create data frame, and inside that we'll just use the emp1 and emp2. Okay, emp1 comma emp2. So here you can see we haven't passed the column context. So I'll just do df2 dot show. Sorry, just a second. Huh? Yeah. So what here we will see, let's first see the output. So here you can see in the output, Spark what it did, it used the row field names as the schemas. Okay. Now let's create a nested row. Okay. So this nested row will be common in very JSON or API payloads, and nested columns become struct type. So first of all, I'll use address one equals to, so this will be the address row, city is, let's write Hyderabad. Okay, comma, state equals to TG, Telangana. Okay, this is the one. Let's write address to, again, row, city equals to Jamshedpur, and state equals to JH, Jharkhand. Okay, now these are the address. Now we'll write employee. Employee one, row, ID equals to 1, name equals to Sachin, then address equals to address 1. Okay, for employee 2, here you can see this is the nested which we are talking about. So address is nested here. Now I'll write row, here ID equals to 2, comma, name equals to Sagar, then the address equals to address 2. Okay, now this will be our nested df because we are using address in the second row context. So I'll use nested df equals to spark dot create data frame, and I just need to pass emp1 comma emp2. Okay, let's see. So I'll just use nested df dot show. Let's run this. Yeah, so address here we are able to see this. So here the address is instruct, and we can see this is in the set. So we can access the nested like this. Okay, now how to access the nested columns? Let's write access nested columns. Okay, so I'll just write nested df dot select. If I just want to select address or name, so I'll just write name comma address. I need to select only the city because it is address. So I'll just write address dot city. Let's see if we are seeing the city as no or not for that particular names. Yeah. So the dot notation later to access we can use to access the nested columns. Okay. Here it is this easy. So we will deep dive into this nested column operations later in the series. Okay. Now let's go ahead and let's move ahead for the let's convert some Python objects. Okay, in the row. So we'll write convert Python objects. Okay. So let's use the raw data. So raw underscore data equals to, I need to create a raw data. Okay, let's create. So ID 1, comma, name, name is Raj, comma, department is, let's write IT. This is one row. Let's create the second row. Their ID 2, comma, name Simran, comma, department procurement. Okay. Now I'll just use rows equals to row. Let's use this star and R for. So we'll use for loop R in raw data. Okay. Now let's create the data frame 3, which equals to spark dot create data frame. And I need to just use rows. Okay. Let's see. So here what we did, we used the list comprehensions. Okay. And these are the rows. R stands in the rows. Okay. And from this also we can create, and it is very helpful in the custom pipelines. So for this also we can create the data frames. Okay. Now, what are the real world use cases of these? So when we are doing the data using the APIs, so the data comes in the nested, mostly in the nested. So recently in my one project, I uh, imported or ingested data from a platform where we used to store some files or some objects. So I just need to see the user activity on that particular uh, things. So we have ingested data using APIs in the Python. So the data came in the JSON format. So these thing helps when we have to structure the JSON format into uh, a structured table format. Okay. And the row gives name structure. And for nested rows, we can use struct type. And it is very useful for the semi-structured data, which we usually know as JSON data. And after ingestion, we still prefer the data frames. Okay. So today we created data frames using row objects. We embedded field names and even built nested structures. In the next video, we will apply fully custom schemas using the struct type and struct field. Okay. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. Thank you. Bye bye.